going to go there. There's quite a lot of sex in this book.
What's there?
Yeah, because they have.
I usually have the
They
big
have
radar for that.
vacation sex. Real. Oh, sorry, go on.
Go on,
no, you go
finish,
on.
because
you
I
go
like
first
the
and
way.
then I'll come back to that.
No, I want you to go back to this.
No, you first.
We always have to talk about this.
What
Look
are you
at
going
it,
to
I'm
say?
like, where is it? What
I've
page
turned
is it?
down some pages.
Okay,
I'll tell
thanks,
you later.
I'll
Hi and welcome to the Frank Book Club with me, Simon Savidge.
And me, Melanie Sykes.
And this month we are in the amazing Atlantis bookshop in London on Museum Street, which is where... How would you describe the books that you sell?
We specialise in magic and witchcraft.
Specialising in magic and witchcraft.
Yeah,
So,
and
that isn't a ghostly voice.
That's not a spirit, that's a human being over there. So we walked past the bookshop, didn't we, last time when we recorded last bookshop?
Yeah.
Book club, and thought, oh, this looks interesting to film in, and popped in. So thank you.
And here we are, and the light literally just went on as if by magic. So, and we thought this would be perfect for October's book club choice, which is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam.
I always feel like I have to join in with this bit. This is the advert.
I think, well, yeah. Ta-da! It's a book that is set roughly nowish, I felt.
Yeah, I'd say.
And it's about, and I thought it was a couple that go to an Airbnb, but it's actually a family that go to an Airbnb away from the city, out in the sticks. And at first it's all...
Of New York.
New York, yeah. And they go out in the sticks, and then something sort of weird starts to happen with the TV and the phone signal, but they think nothing of it, they're on holiday relaxing, and then there's a knock on the door, and the couple who own the house turn up, basically looking for somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
I think that's
intro?
really good, yeah.
Thank you. It's tricky though, because we will give everything away, because there'll be spoilers in this video, but I know some people watch the beginning half, then go and read it and come back for the second half.
Yeah.
So we will forewarn if we go into spoiler territory, but it could happen possibly from any moment, knowing me.
That's totally fine. It's what we do. It's what we do.
So, first question as always.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I thought it was amazing, actually. I was worried about reading, because it's a horror story, actually. And I don't like reading horror. But it's an even worse kind of horror, because it's set in a real zone, and potentially how we're all living on this knife edge all of the time.
Yeah.
And I actually at night in bed reading this I was holding my breath for a lot of it. So that I didn't really enjoy, but I sort of did at the same time. I think it's brilliant. The amount of stuff that's in such a small book as well, so many topics that are covered, so elegantly done, and I think it's bloody clever, actually. Yeah. I think the writing is brilliant. What about you?
I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of my favourite books ever this year. This is my proof edition, which I'll hold close. Literally, I almost turned over every single page, because I would just be like, it's the fact that it's a book that's got this real compelling propulsion to it, and you can't stop reading because you want it. Like every page leaves you almost on every chapter almost leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But yet there'll be lines like, my favourite one I think was like just certain random lines on societal people. Parenthood was never knowing what was going to hurt your kids, but knowing only that something inevitably would. Like in one sentence, that he manages to conjure so much, and he does it throughout. Like this book is crammed with all sorts of things, but at the same time is a brilliant horror story that will leave you kind of, well, I don't like reading it at night.
Yeah, and I only read at night because I've got absolutely no time in the day. I mean, you know, the image of me lying around on a chaise longue reading something like this is just not there. It's
You shattered that for me now, Melanie.
Sorry about that.
I thought we both did that whilst being fed grapes.
God, if only. If only.
The future.
There was bits in. I mean, I've turned pages over, and for me, there was a few things that references that are used. So there's a point where one of the children gets quite ill, and the adults are sort of peering over and looking at his skin and what's going on with him, and the author mentions Caravaggio's painting, which is Thomas's Friends, which when you Google it, it's hilarious because Thomas the Tank Engine comes up. But it's actually, it's an amazing picture, a Caravaggio painting. And I love when books do that. They force you to go and look at something that helps illustrate, because not everybody that reads it is going to know that Caravaggio painting. And then there's references to music as well. There's Swan Lake reference. And again, there's a description of one of the pieces of music from that, and I love it when a book forces me to go and check something out.
Yeah, there was like the tapestry, the Lady and the Unicorn,
right?
But also he does that clever thing with the book, which is so ominous, where he'll go, which they will never see. Like he foretells quite a bit.
Oh, that's right.
And I would find that quite too. Like they'd mention, like I think there's one point where is it Amanda, the woman? Yeah, Amanda. And she's thinking about somebody she knows down her street, and then he'll be like, who was stuck in the elevator and died there because he was never rescued. You're like, oh my God!
Yeah.
And it's just very casually dropped in, and they're moments that really...
Well, as you say, they're casually dropped in. You read it, you go, okay, and then you go, oh God, my God, this is really heavy. This shit's going down.
Yeah.
But you never really find out what is happening, and it's sort of, well, without jumping to the end, actually, let's not jump to the end, but it is that, you know, when I have to keep looking at names. You know, when Clay he takes the car out to go and find out what is going on.
Yeah, he's the husband. I should say, Amanda's the wife. Clay's the husband. Their children are Rose and I want to say Archie. And the couple that join them, and I should say they're a white family, and the couple that join them around the house are a black couple, an elderly black couple, called Ruth and GH.
Yeah.
Who soon learned is called George Washington.
Yes.
Which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah.
But what I thought interesting is that from the off, the book unsettles you because the characters start to think quite unlikable thoughts. Like even in the car on the way, Amanda's like, sorry Rose, you won't see your friend, because basically internally she's saying, they won't have as nice a holiday as us, they're somewhere a bit more low rent. And then when the couple arrive, they're suspicious because they're like, well, how can a black couple have this house? And I think the way, just from the very beginning, he starts to unsettle you with social commentary is really fascinating.
Yeah. Well, he's good at unsettling you throughout.
Well, I was going to say, this is before the fear all starts to kick in.
Well, no, I know. But even the scene up until that door is knocked, and they start to process, hang on a minute, we're in an Airbnb, we're in the middle of nowhere, nobody's knocking at the door. I mean, if somebody knocks at my door, I'm panicking, and I live in the city, and like, you know, I'm like available. I shouldn't really say that. I'm not going to add my address to this.
That's not what this channel is about.
But that couple of pages, you are tense.
Yeah.
You are thinking, oh my God, and you know, because we've read the back, who they are, but you're still part of the family going, who the hell is at the door?
And why?
And who goes to the door, and who's brave enough to make that step, and why and what, and it's totally brilliant.
And it's how even at that point, when they don't really know much that's happened, but they're so suspicious of this couple already, that again, I think Rumaan Alam uses his characters to look as a ways of looking at the worst elements of society and human personality, nature, judgment, prejudice, all those things. Because as soon as the couple come in,
mostly though, because all of that is based on fear, isn't it?
Of the unknown or the different. Yeah, and I think fear is probably the biggest thing, because then with the book, I don't know if you agree with this, he plays on almost every single fear you might have.
Yeah,
because you have fear of the dark, fear of a power cut basically happens in New York, and that's all they know. But instantly they go to the worst case scenario. They start to fear that it must be terrorism, or maybe that we're going to war, or there's all these different thoughts. And then it goes to like, well, you're in the middle of nowhere in the woods. That's a fear that lots of people will have.
Oh gosh.
There's little moments of fear, like, oh, are the kids all right in the pool? He makes you just tense, thinking they're on vacation, having a lovely time. What's going on there? But also, for me, the scariest bit, I don't know if, there may be some spoilers from this point, was the noise. That
was a big moment.
Freaked me out, because I've experienced a moment like that where we were in our lounge at home, and I can only describe it as like this sort of sonic screech. The windows did that, and basically a gas explosion had happened 6 miles away, and everyone on our street came out on the front. So I think what he also does is find, not that that's an everyday occurrence, but little moments of everyday fears that people have.
Isn't it funny though, when something like that happens, everybody goes outside.
Yeah.
It's like, come get me.
Well, we did it because over from us are retired nuns, so we were like, well, if they say everything's fine, it's fine. That was kind of our attitude. We were like, right, we'll go and do it then. But it's this noise that they all hear that's unlike anything they've ever heard, which I still don't quite know what it was, even though he tries to explain it. I got a bit confused because there's a few more later.
Yeah, he doesn't ever really in detail explain what that was sounded like, but
No.
I think that's the beauty of it, because you can only imagine. So you went back to that. I heard a sonic boom like 4 o'clock in the morning last year, and the first thing, and it was, what the hell was that? But because of the time of morning it was, I went back to sleep actually. But the first thing I did in the morning was Google what was the noise in North London last night,
Yeah.
and it was all there to be explained. But when you hear something you've never heard before and it's on such a massive scale, you think it's the end of the world,
Yeah.
and then you go back to sleep.
We'll go and check on the nuns.
I mean, we're freaks. We're all bloody freaks. So he leaves you. Rumaan leaves you to work it out for yourself.
Yes, which I love, but also I think as well, because we spend so much time with the news now, like at first I was thinking, oh, is this possible? But it so is, because your mind will go back to, like, do you remember when those asteroids kind of happened in, was it Russia? Where out of nowhere asteroids like literally hit the streets of Russia.
Right,
it was all over the news. And I was
right.
like, this is like out of a science fiction. And this book, I think, straddles sci-fi, horror, dystopia. It's kind of a mixture of everything.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we're living like in that zone right now. It's not fictional.
No.
It's not, and that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the point. And the horrifying thing, and the big end of it is that this is how we're living right now.
Yeah.
Like we don't know really how the fabric of this world is held together, but it's very, very precarious.
Yeah.
You know, we as individuals and as citizens don't really know how the puppeteering is working and how fragile that is. We're getting a sniff of it. It's becoming a bit more apparent, and after the pandemic, for sure, people are starting to really look at the world, and like what we're being told isn't necessarily what is actually going on.
Yeah, no, that's true. And actually that linked into a question from Lydia, or Lids221B. I'm hoping that's a reference to 221B Baker Street in Sherlock Holmes. That's what I'm hoping internally.
It probably is, because it's that specific.
Did we find any parallels with this book and now what we've gone through in the last 18 months?
Yeah, I mean,
I totally did.
Completely. That's what I'm saying, is that we aren't in control at all with our life and how it's run. We have no idea what's going on globally, really. We're only told. We only receive what we're told.
Yeah.
And that's potentially a lie. And
it's a weird one though, isn't it? Because I was talking about this the other day when I saw loads of, you know, those blacked out police like 4x4s whizzing through London. I was like, oh, something must be happening. And then I was doing an interview with Jed Mercurio, who writes Line of Duty and has got a new show coming out about bomb disposal units. This isn't a plug. But he was saying they happen all the time, those like on the edge of something awful could happen moments in the UK all the time, but we're never told. And he was saying, how much do we want to know about that? Like, if we knew how bad things could be, would that be too much for us? And that's something I think this book looks at, is what is how do you deal with the worst possible case scenario when you know nothing and fear everything?
oh my god, get my head around that comment. So you know me. I like to know everything, because then I'm not fearful, because then I can actually rationalise it, work it out, and have a position on it.
And you know me, I'm a worrier. So if I know too much, I worry about it.
Right. See, I'm the opposite. The more I know, the less I worry. So I'm seeking out truth on a daily basis. Because, I mean, for example, I know this sounds really random, but like when I was pregnant with my first child, I was reading books. I wasn't reading books about how to get through your pregnancy. I was reading books about, I read one called Misconceptions, and it was about the culture of caesareans and the fact that the hospitals sort of push for that. I was looking at the politics behind how women have children, not how to massage oil onto my belly to not have stretch marks, because that's just who I am. And my friends were like, I can't believe you're reading this stuff. I'm like, I need to know. I'm pregnant. I'm about to go in hospital, and I don't want to know what they're thinking in terms of, you know, we probably push more people towards caesareans than natural births because there's more risk. Blah, blah, blah. And it's facts and figures and numbers and money and blah, 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 blah. And it's not actually to do with you as a human being and what you want. So therefore, I want to know.
Yeah. And I think I'm getting better at wanting to know, but I think it's that cautious, tentative steps where, because I know my anxiety can come from very random things.
Yeah. No, listen, everybody's got to manage themselves. I just manage I'm not trying to push, obviously, people knowing the ins and outs of everything. So everybody's got their own vibes, which, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But I thought
that was interesting in this book because some of the characters are desperate to know what's going on. So particularly, actually, really, it's Amanda and Clay that most want to know what's going on. The kids are kind of quite cool with it and just sort of, well, I mean, poor Archie, he goes through that scene with the teeth.
The scene with the teeth.
So disturbing, and yet he's kind of cool with it. But then you have Ruth and GH who are a bit more reserved and they're like, let's just stay here, let's be here, let's not go and seek out too much, let's just stay.
What would you be like, do you think, in that moment?
I don't know, I tried to work it out because I was trying to imagine being in the house. I just got obsessed. The bit that did make me laugh is when the flamingos arrived, because I started thinking about when I saw flamingos in Venice.
Yeah, which I think you were tripping, man. I think you might have been smoking some funny tobacco.
I think I was just very high post-wedding.
But I thought about that.
It really made me laugh.
I know, I thought that same thing.
And I was thinking, but the ones in Venice were white. Anyway, but that's the other bit I wanted to mention, actually. This book is so about climate change as well, and about nature and the longevity of nature versus humans. And even he makes things that are so beautiful, sinister. Like when Rose's out in the garden, she's not one deer, not two deer, not three deer, but then like 100 deer. And I love the fact that she just decides not to tell anyone. She's going to keep it her secret. And I found that.
But she's very secretive anyway, isn't she, all the way through it? Even also when she disappears and goes have a little look.
She's very in tune with everything, I felt. I felt she had a certain way about her.
Yeah.
But did you find like that nature, like the flamingos, such a beautiful scene?
It was a beautiful scene, but the descriptions were they sounded quite monstrous in terms of their size, and they were totally out of place. And
the flamingos were like bigger than Rosie.
The description of them, I thought I would not want to meet a flamingo ever, you know.
In my swimming pool.
In my swimming pool. But yeah, it's that displacement of nature all of a sudden. So something massive is going on, and all of a sudden this random happening in nature, because obviously what we do affects nature. We're doing it, it's happening now. The earth is scarred. It is deeply scarred from us actively destroying it. So it's got everything in it.
Yeah. But I just thought those scenes were so, where there's such beautiful creatures, but even they become sins just in the fact that they're en masse, or they're behaving in ways they shouldn't, or they're turning up where they shouldn't. Again, he's constantly sort of pulling the rug out from under your feet a little bit. But I don't know what I'd do. I think I would want to try and at least get to a shop for food. You know me.
The food?
I'd be quite bothered about that.
Well, they did have food, didn't they?
Yeah, but you always need more, Melanie. Especially when you get two guests that you're not expecting.
Well, that's true. That's true. But they had a secret stash, didn't they, anyway?
That's true.
But also, I thought filling up the bathtubs in case they ran out of water, I hadn't even considered that. Like, I don't really know what I'd be like in a survival mode. And actually, it was when, oh God, I keep forgetting his name, when Clay goes off in the car, he went on his own. There's no way on earth I'd go.
No,
I would go on his own. I'd need somebody.
Just like you wouldn't want to be left on your own.
You wouldn't want to be left on your own. You wouldn't want to go on your own. And him being lost, I found really distressing. Those scenes of him being lost and going around in circles and not quite getting anywhere, and then meeting somebody on the road, and he just doesn't help. Out of fear, doesn't tell anybody when he gets back to the house either, because he's probably quite
ashamed. He admits it very late on, and then he talks about being ashamed in front of your child. That was and then also we do meet other people and they don't behave the way anyone expects them to. I love that as well, because you almost like, oh, there's some hope. Oh no, Rumaan's at it again. He shifted the parameters, but I never felt like I was being played with in a bad way. I constantly felt like he wanted us to experience it in that way and be thrown a little bit and to not
It's
see
just
what's coming.
so clever.
Yeah,
so
it is
clever.
so clever.
skilled. Like, how does somebody know how to do that? This is going to be a film, is it
Yes,
not?
on Netflix. And I did it, because there's a bit where they say, Amanda says, oh, GH looked very like Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is playing GH.
Well, I thought I remember,
And
yeah.
I think Julia Roberts is going to be Amanda, but that's going to be with some of the scenes, Melanie. We're going to go there. There's quite a lot of sex in this book.
Was there?
Yeah, because they have.
I usually have the
They
big
have
radar for that.
vacation sex, don't they? And it's
Oh,
quite.
right, so it clearly wasn't that exciting. Was it good sex?
Well, there's one bit where Amanda's thinking about how many she could have at once, and maybe GH should join in. And
Yeah, but that's a thought. That's
no,
not
but it's
a
all
reality.
like these fantasies and stuff. As she's, but they also talk about how it's vacation sex versus home sex.
Yeah, that's probably why I didn't think it was very sexy. Because
But
I don't
that's a lot,
differentiate
isn't it?
between vacation sex and sex is just sex, isn't it?
I don't know.
Maybe for married people with children, but I've been a married person with children.
Well, now I'm worried because I am married, and my husband always says 5-star hotel. Sorry, Chris, if you see this.
Oh my god! Just when
But
I
they
went,
get back to real. Oh, sorry, go on.
go on,
no,
no,
you
finish,
go on.
because
No,
no,
you
I
go
like
first
the
and
way.
then
No,
I'll come back to
no,
that.
no, I want you to go back to this.
No, you first.
We always have to talk about this.
Well, it was in the book, Melanie, and I thought we
No.
couldn't not.
No, we have to. I can't believe I bloody missed it. I was too in shock and horrified with the rest of the storyline because usually I've got big radar for that, as we know.
What
Look
were you
at
going to
it.
say?
I'm like, where is it? What
I've
page is
turned
it?
down some pages,
Okay,
Melanie, I'll
thanks.
tell
I'll
you
read.
that. Anyway, you were saying before I went off.
No, I'm not saying it now.
Go on.
No.
Please.
It's too revealing about oneself. So no.
Well, sorry, Chris, I've just thrown you out there to the wolves.
Yeah, but that's
or the
Chris,
deer,
not
or
you.
the flamingos. Whatever.
I'm worried that we're not really explaining this book very well, are we?
I think we are because, well, one thing I guess we should say is that the fears unravel as it goes on and they progress more and more.
Right.
But I think it's a hard book to sum up actually because, although I did want to just go back to the sex, the reason I was doing that is because they have really animalistic, it's very rough and not what they're saying they have at home.
Right, okay.
Did you
Very
laugh at
good.
rough?
Yeah.
It's just the way I said it.
I just can't believe I missed rough sex. God damn it.
But yeah, it's a hard book to describe though because.
But also, can I just add as well, because I didn't read anything about it, and I didn't know what it was going to be about. I thought that it was going to be like one of those horror stories where people die, like people get murdered.
Yeah,
So
I
all the
thought-
way through, I'm waiting for somebody to be murdered, and it didn't happen. But I was still fearful anyway, because the things that he was dropping in that weren't about the things that I was expecting were even worse than murder in a way, because it's a living horror.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, you messaged me, didn't you? You didn't give anything away, but you're like, I finished the book, Simon. It's a living horror.
Is that what I said? Okay, well, I'm obviously meaning it because I've said it again.
No, it was, but I think that's true, and I think it is actually a book that I guess you have to experience. That's the whole thing about it. You have to live through it with these, and you do feel very much like you're in there. One thing that Hall's Fair asked was, why did we find what particularly do we find so nervous?
The most unnerving thing about this book for me is because it's our reality.
And it could so easily happen.
There's any number of those things that they're pertaining to could happen and are happening.
I think what I found probably the most unnerving, I mean, I found all of it unnerving and the more unnerving, but I actually quite enjoyed being more and more unnerved as we went. But just the very fact that if you lose electricity on that scale, you are screwed. Like, society is screwed.
Yeah.
Planes crash, people get stuck in subways, people get stuck in elevators, there's no, hospitals, etc. And also the fact that people are, there's some people they meet who know they still have power, so they're waiting for people to find that they have power and are almost like ready, like the guy's got a gun and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I think how easily that could happen over just a moment. You could go away somewhere and everything could change. That's quite terrifying.
Yeah, it really is terrifying. It's a terrifying book.
And
It's
yet
a brilliant
thrilling.
book. Yeah. I can't wait to watch the film, actually.
So yeah, I don't know when that's going to
Do you know
come
who
out.
else is in it, just out of interest?
No, just Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. I think they're the only people that have been announced so far. More questions that we have. Miss Vix reads, did you find the female voices convincing? I found all the characters convincing.
Yeah, I did as well.
And I thought he did a really good job of, in that amount of space, making particularly the main 6 characters really well. I thought there was something really interesting when he was talking about GH's thoughts on Obama and how he liked Obama, but there was too much hope and never enough reality.
Right, okay.
And I think that's a theme within this book, is that we have to have reality in the back of our minds all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I didn't think there was... I thought Amanda's a fascinating character. Because
But
they're not all likeable. She's not likeable, but I loved reading her.
Yeah, I
don't believe you have to like characters to enjoy a book.
Well, you don't, but I did not like him. I just thought that she was very much finding solace in wine quite a lot throughout it, wasn't she?
She was.
There was a lot of, it's typical adult behaviour, isn't it? And kids must just be horrified sometimes when the shit hits the fan. You know, parents, adults around children sometimes hit the wine, don't they?
Yeah.
And children must feel like, oh gosh, well, if they're losing their shit, who's going to look after us?
I find sometimes if I'm around people that are really drunk when I'm not drinking, I can find that uncomfortable, because it gets to a certain point where the fun ends and it all gets a bit, and that happens a little bit with Amanda in this. And also that's when people's truths, personalities come out a little bit more, and I think he does that a lot with her particularly. I think actually out of all the characters that I didn't feel were the best defined, Clay was a bit vague for me.
Yeah.
He felt a little bit like, I don't know, I didn't quite get him 100%. Amanda, GH and Ruth and Rose particularly, Archie and Clay.
Well, maybe that was because he's a bit of a dick.
Oh, I was thinking a bit of a drip.
Drip, better word, much better word. Wet blanket.
Yeah, but
what was it in Italian again? I can't remember, because that wet blanket came up in the last.
See the last video for that.
He was a bit of a drip, yeah. So, but that's brilliant then, because that's brilliant, and that's what we got from it.
Yeah.
That sort of backing off and only showing you certain elements of it. We deduce he's a drip.
I
wonder who's playing him. Who's drip like? Who can play drips?
Who can play drips? Let us know in the comments down below. That'd be lovely. So we have a final question from Cindy, and she wants us to discuss the ending and how we interpret it. So before we do so, if you don't want to know about the ending, skip forward to when we're holding the next book club pickup. Otherwise, you're in for big spoilers. Because the ending is basically...
I think we've already talked about it though.
Not really, because it's about Rosie finding that new house.
Oh right, I see what you're
saying.
saying.
They're gonna, you know, because Rosie goes missing, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for her, and then Clay and GH decide they're going to take Archie, after all of his teeth have fallen out, to the hospital. I mean, it looks at the pandemic before the pandemic hit, really, and that's because it does. He looks at every single fear we might have. It is fascinating how he's done that. And then Rose got missing, but she fights.
Was it written before the pandemic? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And
God, I wonder what triggered him to write it then.
I think probably there was a lot of mention about a certain president.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been part of it.
Yeah.
And just probably the state of the world anyway.
And
before
the precariousness, if somebody like that can get in power in the precariousness of the world when that happens.
Yeah.
I see, yeah, I get it.
But also, I think
yeah.
it's just the fact that we are on that sort of tipping point. I think we're teetering all the time. I think because of the pandemic, we've probably forgotten how bad things were before. It just got a lot worse, and now suddenly we're like, oh, it's getting better again. But we've got to be realistic about that, not to make it doom and creep.
No, but the narrative is dictated by the media.
Yeah, which we've seen a lot recently. Anyway, so Rosie finds this new house, which they decide is going to be theirs, so it's clear they're going to stay and be neighbours.
Yeah.
I thought it was about, without getting all Whitney, children being our future. Because Rosie sort of embodies this. You keep saying that she's very at peace with everything, and she sort of takes it in her stride. She knows stuff's going on, but it should be, because it's the end of something, but the beginning of something else. So that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. She's the hope, if there's any hope within it, and her strength of character and fearlessness. And even when she's coming back to the house to sort of tell everybody, I found this gaff and blah, 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 she's like, you know, maybe I should have told them that I was leaving. They're in the middle of a massive crisis. Everybody's drinking themselves into oblivion, and she's just thought, well, yeah, maybe I should have let them know where I was going. There's sort of, that's the hope at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
That young people can actually get on with it, move forward, and try and make
and that
things
even
better.
in a shitty situation, they'll look for the positives or how they can change. And also, I love the ambiguous ending. I love an ambiguous ending. That sounds really wrong.
Why?
I love an ambiguous ending. Anyway, but I really enjoyed that. I like the fact I'm left to make my own decisions about what happens with all the characters. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't even think about the characters towards the end. I was thinking about me. I was thinking about us in the world and how it is, and it was just really, it was like, that's what they're going to do, is just going to work it out from now on. And actually, what are we going to do? How are we going to go forward? How do we survive the uncertainty that is the world and that is life? And yeah, it brought it back to us in real terms and humanity as it stands right now.
I loved it. Absolutely. Loved it.
Brilliant.
I thought it was
utter brilliant.
Phenomenal. So yeah, I'm so glad we read it. So glad we read it. Right, so November's pick.
Yeah, I've got to rummage for it.
Now the brief for this one.
And yeah, please, because
I think we gave Chrissy when we were doing book selling at Book Bar.
Yeah.
But something a little bit erotic.
Yeah, because we're always talking about sex in every single video that we do, but we've not actually done a book that's got loads of it in it.
And I don't know how erotic this is, but it definitely it deals with sex a lot. It's Boy Parters by Eliza Clarke, who is a northern writer in the UK, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm just reading the back without glasses on, so I'm like, because I have to be honest, because I'm one of the judges on the Portico Prize at the moment. I've had a box of books that have arrived, and there's a lot. I've got to read all of those by the end of November, and also I'm not allowed to repeat any for this.
Yeah.
So we've got having to. Do you mind me just explaining to everybody, but what it's like for me and how I am, and so I'll do everything I need to do and read everything, and then so I haven't actually really explored what this next book is, and so I only know its title and its name and know there's sex in it, so I'm just being totally
That's kind of
transparent.
pretty much all I know. I think it's about a young woman who starts to photograph men and their genitalia.
Oh right, oh god,
and then it gets twisted.
What, the genitalia?
No, the plot.
Okay.
But this came out last year, I think it was, so it's been out a while, but it's one that I've meant to read. It's from a small indie press, and it's kind of had a cult following because people have really people have really got into it.
Cool.
So I've heard nothing but good
we'll
things.
see how it goes.
So we'll be back with that at the end of November. So do join in with us and read along.
Thanks so much
Melanie,
for watching.
It's been a joy as always.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for having us, the Atlantis Bookshop. It's been a treat. A trick or treat. I got it in there.
Brilliant. So smart.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
If a book wants to fly at me at any point, I would be quite happy with that as long as it didn't damage the book.
They do that sometimes.
Do they? That's so exciting.
And men and women take it two very different ways. Men jump and go, it wasn't me. They have this sort of naughty schoolboy thing, like being cool. Women always pick it up and go, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, what's the book?
Yeah. Blokes always,
I was just thinking that. I would be like, well, what are you trying to tell me? What do I need to know? I'm waiting. Come at
me. It could happen. I'm excited
it's
by
right,
the
if you
idea.
bore me, I'll start.